We've been told that leadership is a mindset, but the reality is when stress hits, your mind is not what's in charge. Your nervous system is. Hi, I'm Gia Lacqua, leadership strategist, trauma-informed empowerment coach, and former Fortune 100 vice president. And after 2 decades in corporate America, there's one glaring truth that I've come to know. You can have all the strategy, all the skill, all the structure in the world. But if your brain and your nervous system aren't aligned, your leadership won't stick. That's because leadership isn't just a cognitive skill. It's a neural experience. It's how your brain, your body, and your emotional system communicate under pressure. Today, I want to show you how neuroscience reshapes what great leadership looks like and how to understand how this can help you lead with clarity, calm, and confidence, no matter the situation. So let's dive in. We all know that decision-making is at the core of leadership. And we have to learn how to balance logic and emotion at the same time and pause before we react. I remember a time in my corporate career when a senior leader questioned and challenged my decision in front of many other senior leaders in the room. And of course, I had that instant reaction. My body reacted, my heart was racing, my jaw was tight. I was ready to defend my decision, but I caught it. I took a breath, I unclenched my fists, I waited a full 3 seconds before speaking. And in that space, my brain was able to catch up with my body. And I shifted from reacting to responding with clarity instead of ego. And that moment taught me the real difference between reactivity and leadership. One protects your pride, the other protects your power. Do you ever notice those moments when your body fires before your brain does? That's not weakness, that's your wiring. And just learning to pause in that gap is where your real power lives. Now, your team doesn't just listen to you, they feel you. Their nervous system actually mirrors yours in milliseconds. So if you come in frenzied, anxious, they absorb that. If you're calm and grounded, they absorb that. So when you're grounded under pressure, you are modeling stability and you give others permission to do the same. Leadership isn't just about managing other people's emotions. It's actually about mastering your own first. I like to say that regulation is the new executive presence because calm is what makes people trust your decisions, even when everything feels uncertain. I'll never forget walking into a meeting where the room was already on edge. Their tension was really thick in the air. I could feel their stress before anyone even spoke. And my old pattern would have matched their energy, speeding up, take control. And instead, I did the opposite. I slowed down. I lowered my voice. I grounded my breath and I sat back in my chair. Within minutes, the energy in the room completely shifted. And that's when I understood leadership isn't just about what you say, it's what your nervous system is communicating because your presence sets the temperature of every room you walk into. Now, when we feel seen, when we feel supported, valued, safe, our brain releases oxytocin. Now, why is this helpful in a leadership setting? Because the converse is that when we sense threat, unfairness, disconnection, our cortisol spikes. And that can impact leadership abilities and team morale. The reality is that teams thrive under safety. There was a time in my career during a major reorg when everyone was scared. There was rumors, there was speculation, there was a lot of uncertainty, and everyone was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Now, I didn't have all the answers at the time, and pretending I did would only have fueled everyone's anxiety. So I called a meeting and I said the truth. I don't know everything yet, but here's what I do know. And here's what I'll make sure you're never left out of. And you could sort of feel this collective exhale. That transparency created safety. And when people feel safe, they stop protecting themselves and start contributing again. Uncertainty lights up the brain's alarm system. When change hits, your amygdala sees threat. The good news is the brain is adaptable. Neuroplasticity means you can literally train your brain to get better at change. Adaptability is a skill, right? So the more we practice the discomfort, the faster the brain learns safety in the unknown. And leaders who normalize learning are the ones who can build really resilient teams. Because when mistakes aren't punished, the brain stays open instead of defensive and protective. So create psychological safety, and the brain rewires itself for agility instead of fear. When I led my team through a cultural shift, the resistance was instant. Not because people were being difficult, but because their brains were protecting them. Because change feels like danger. So I slowed down, I made space for all of the emotions that were surfacing and talked about it head on. And within weeks, that resistance turned into ownership. Because when people feel safe, adaptability follows. Now I want to talk about mindfulness, because mindfulness isn't just a mindset, it's brain training. It actually strengthens your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for focus, for clarity, and emotional control. And your presence is contagious. So again, when you're grounded, your nervous system signals safety, and everyone around you unconsciously mirrors that calm. And your attention follows regulation. So a calm brain can focus. A stressed brain, you might notice, has a hard time focusing. Mindfulness turns reactivity into responsiveness. It gives your brain the space to choose and not just react. Mindfulness completely changed how I led under pressure. I used to go into overdrive, talk fast, think faster, and try to control everything. Now, before I walk into a high stakes room, I pause, I breathe, and I drop into my body. And that single shift slows my nervous system down and everyone else's. Because when you're grounded, your presence tells the room it's okay. And that calm is truly contagious. Neuroscience is more than understanding how the brain works. It's about understanding yourself. When you learn to work with your brain instead of against it, everything changes. You have more clarity, a more stable presence, and an approach to leadership that is sustainable and impactful. Being in a leadership role isn't just a performance. To be really effective, you need regulation, resonance, and genuine connection. When you align your mind, body, and nervous system, you lead in a way that people can actually feel. So if this resonated with you, subscribe for more on neuroscience-backed leadership, trauma-informed coaching, and practical tools for becoming the best leader you can be. Thanks for watching. See you next time.